also contact us and come to any of our workshops. We have plenty of directors that come to our workshops and are like, I know if we're going to get into something really intense like simulated sex, we're going to want a specialist in there. But between that, it's the tool. Those are the tools that you get when you come into intimacy training.
And I'm just wondering, like, what, like, when you go to directors, like, what do you want them to know? Like, what are the questions that you want them to ask?
I want to make sure that when they are putting the, what's the word I'm looking for? The audition notice has exactly what's being asked of them. So if there's nudity or simulated sex, they have to know. Or it's a conversation during callbacks. This is exactly what's going to be happening. I want them to know the definition of coercion. I want them to know that they're in a power position and that no matter how friendly they are with the actors, they're still in a position of power at times, and to be able to know about power dynamics. And just to be able to have a frank conversation with their actors and get language, sensitivity language, that you can read a script that says something really awful that they're doing to a character, but you have the language to talk about it to the actor and not have to use really awful language to it. You know what I mean? So those are the tools that I would say you want to sharpen up in your toolbox, because then it's an open creative process. But when you start using some strong and inflammatory and inappropriate, something that you wouldn't use in an office, then you might get into trouble and your actors start to go away.
Yes, in the green top.
I wanted to ask how you would recommend dealing with this sort of situation in like a drama school or conservatory setting, where in a classroom you might be pushed to do things without there being those conversations of consent beforehand, like whether it comes to physical things or even what you were mentioning in terms of like the like being pushed to unhealthy emotional places, like how to deal with that when because the power dynamics I've found, like being a current conservatory student, like can be very different, and speaking up can, I don't know, it's really complicated things.
Yeah, it's super complicated. I'd say have a conversation on the side with either, if you're not comfortable talking to your teacher, talk to another teacher about it. You know, there's nothing wrong with having emotional responses during class and pushing yourself. But if you're getting pushed to a point where you are feeling like you're not going to be able to recover, or you're going to lose a week because of it, that's a conversation for either your department head, and if they are like, I don't care, and you are in an unsafe place, that's where you go to Title IX. But I think it's a conversation that you want to bring up, and know your power as a student, that you have the power to ask for what is going to keep you safe. Also, most conservatories or universities have awesome mental health opportunities as well, and resources, so use that by all means, so that if you are feeling pressured, you have another person outside of this situation that you can talk to about it and get a good idea of what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in the third row.
You talked about having consent calls where people check in and say, are you good to do this today? If the answer is no, how do you go about modifying what you do that night to make sure everyone's safe and the story is still told? How much leeway do you have in that?
So, I did a lot of stunt shows at one point and was performing a lot in these. And I got a hip injury partway through of doing a really intense show, which meant that there were a couple of things that I couldn't do that night when I had a big flare-up of my injury. And so we had another plan, because if I'm going to injure myself permanently by doing this, then we have another plan. And maybe that spinning back kick isn't going to happen anymore, but we can go to a low kick that happens, and he'll take it in, crotch instead of face. Cool. It's the same as far as intimacy for my money. And there are sometimes, you may go through your entire life or entire career and not have to say no. and not have to say, no. Usually there's some other way to tell the story.
But I guess, do you arrange those backup plans ahead of time? Because let's say we're 3 weeks into the run, the intimacy director is long gone, and someone says no. Who has the purview to change what we're doing? Who knows how to make sure it's safe?
So they would call the intimacy director back in, but also, or even I've gotten phone calls from stage managers, this is what's going on. I'm like, great, how's the communication there? How is the room? Okay, I had an actor get mono halfway through a run. It's like, well, I'm not gonna force someone to get mono for a show, even though of course the actor's like, I'll do it. Certainly there are ways that a kiss, it doesn't necessarily have to be kissing. There can be much more intimate moments of embracing and kissing of the neck if it's sexual, or the side of the face. There's ways to mask the kiss. So you bring your specialist back in and you work it out. That's my answer on it.
I think we have time for one, maybe two more questions, if folks have them. Okay.
I noticed when you were mentioning the organizations you work with, I believe you said Equity Canada, but not Equity here. Is that something that you're working towards, or is that like contentious?
Oh, no, not contentious at all. We're waiting for their phone call. That being said, we're also working with Equity UK. So we've got Equity UK, Equity Canada, even Finland and Chile we are wildly international. Progress tends to happen a little slower in the States, we're finding. But that being said, the studios and the productions, those are picking up quickly.
I saw this hand first, yes.
Do you have any programs where you train directors who work with minors?
Yeah. So working with minors is not my specialty. There are a couple of other intimacy directors at IDI that do. It gets into a really difficult legal place when you look at like the full, the specifics of it. Because every high school wants to do spring awakening right now. And it's like, okay, cool, but if you're putting minors into sexual positions, you're literally committing a federal crime. So yes, there are programs and conversations around it. I would say as a practitioner, so I would say connect with IDI about that. But if you're a practitioner, look at your state and local laws. But also there are plenty of other ways to tell a sexual story that is without the actors being put into sexual positions.
For sure. I think my real question perhaps, or maybe it's just a statement, is I think this is fantastic and important work that you're doing. And I think the earlier that these conversations happen, then the easier the conversations are to have as we go forward.
Yeah.
And the conversations are not happening at the high school level, and there are plenty of high schools, including mine, I work in our assignment school, that demand certain things. And it's
Yeah. Consent training is something that you can get into a high school level pretty easily. That gives a really good intro to what this work is.
I will also say as a sex educator, there are programs usually through your local Planned Parenthood or other similar organization. They usually have trainings for teachers and for parents that are good if you want to learn more about how to talk to kids, start those conversations, even if you're not necessarily working with them in a theater context. And then there are also, if you're working specifically in a dance school, there are some small theater companies that use theater to do education around sexuality that could be really interesting to bring in, that the kids might respond to. And if you are curious about details, you can talk to me after. Yeah. Maybe one more question that's fast. Yes.
I was just curious if you also worked with other kinds of performing arts, that have you worked with dance companies in that sense, and how does that differ?
Sure. dance already has the choreography part down. You know, like they said what the choreography is. What we have worked with some dance companies, and some of it is really talking more about context and talking about the communication and consent. So sometimes that is, you know, because especially in dance, touching each other and grabbing each other and doing different things is great. Just adding an extra line of awareness of communication and how it is we start our boundaries for the day. That's more the work that we end up doing with dance companies than, because yeah, it's already choreographed, so it's not necessarily going to change night after night.
Thank you, and that is our time. Thank you to Alicia for being here. Thank you to all of you. Enjoy the rest of the BROADWAYCON.